Welcome into Foxborough Rush. What a rush. If you love this show, check out Boston Has Entered the Chat on Nesson as well. Of course, we break down the Luka trade. All that and more on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else you get your podcasts. All right, here we go. Foxborough Rush style on the way, baby. Travis Thomas here with my man Keagan Stiefel. No George today. So, Keegs, you know we turned up.
Yeah, we're about to have fun today. No George. I get to do all the draft talk. You're going to set me up. I'm going to hit a couple dingers. It's going to be a fun show.
Clearly, I see the big board behind you there. You got prospects on there. You got it all rocking. And this is where I want to start with you anyways as we look at your big board there. I mean, we know Patriots are picking at 4th. You and I have gone back and forth about prospects we like, who we want, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, yada, yada, yada. But this time, I want to throw a different scenario at you, my friend. So if the Patriots were to trade the 4th pick for players, player. Now, we've talked about if the Patriots trade back to acquire more picks. We've already covered that. That's old news, yesterday's paper. What I'm asking you now is if we're going Luka style, if we're trading a player for this pick, who would you like? So we looked around the league here. I'm going to give you some candidates. Now, all these players are possibly available based on their contracts within the next few years. So teams may not want to re-sign them, may want to move off of them, get some value in return for them. So if we're trading a 4th pick, Keegs, I mean, these have to be blue chip ballers, okay? We're not trading the 4th pick for a bag of Cape Cod chips, you know what I mean, and a Mountain Dew. Like, you got to get something in return here. So let me give you some receivers. DK Metcalf with the Seahawks, AJ Brown with the Eagles, Deebo Samuel with the 49ers. So we'll stay with the receivers for now. If you were trading the number 4 overall pick, could any of these names interest you, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'd like to say no. The number 4 pick, the value that has.
Yeah.
I don't think any of 3 of these guys fit in it. Specifically, Deebo Samuel, I want to get that out of the way. I don't really think it's worth talking about a ton.
Yep.
He's been on the downslope for a couple seasons now. I think in terms of contract value, like, he's going to make a decent chunk of change with this next contract. Mm-hmm. Do you want to trade the number 4 pick to then have the right to pay Deebo Samuel, a guy who, you know, heading into this probably second half of his career, not the receiver he once was. So really uninterested in that as a whole. DK Metcalf is interesting because I think he's a guy whose value has dropped a little bit, not through anything, you know, of his own, but because Seattle drafted a wide receiver who's on the come up, who had a better season than him, who they can probably slide into that number 1 option role in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, you know, his value's down a little bit, but I don't really think it was ever at the point where you trade the number 4 pick for him. So those 2 guys specifically, no. AJ Brown, I could have a conversation about.
Okay.
AJ Brown, you know, again, trading the number 4 pick to have the right to pay somebody is not the business I really want to get into. But if there was ever a receiver who knows this program, right? He played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee for a few years.
Yeah.
He's a winning player. He's been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. Obviously a great franchise with Philadelphia. They're going to get there maybe with or without him with the way they play football. But he's the kind of player that you bring into a program and can elevate those around him. A Drake Maye, I think he makes Drake Maye better. I think he makes the offensive line better just because big physical receiver, just throw him the ball, you know, on a quick slant and he'll make something out of it. So of those 3 names, AJ Brown's really the only one I'm interested in, period. But I think as we get further into this conversation, maybe other positions, I can definitely see the Patriots wanted to trade that number 4 pick.
Yeah, we will get into other positions. As it pertains to the wide receivers, though, all these guys we listed here, A.J. Brown, your dude, DK Metcalf, Deebo, all of them have had these sort of diva wide receiver moments. I mean, we've seen them all pout. We've seen them all upset. They're not getting the ball in the offense. That concerns me a bit. I agree. Let me agree with you with Debo. I'm taking him off the buddy list here. And for everything you said, I mean, first of all, I don't want to call him a gimmick wide receiver because he is better than that. But there is clearly a certain system that fits his skill set that you must run. And look, I love Josh McDaniels. I have defended the move while a lot of people said, oh, why are you going back to him? I'm like, good, bring him on because I know what I'm getting. And I know he's a creative play caller, but I certainly don't think he's going to run a Debo Samuels offense here. I just don't think it fits. And to your point, too, that you brought up, Keegs, and you're absolutely right. This is likely the back nine of Debo's prime that we're witnessing. He can't stay healthy. He gets banged up. I just don't want to deal with him. I don't think it's worth the 4th pick. Now, where I agree with you with A.J. Brown, I'm also going to throw in DK Metcalf. And here's my thinking. You're basically telling me, okay, that this current wide receiver, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown in my case, is better than anything you can get at number 4. So certainly wide receiver-wise, duh, right? There's no one wide receiver-wise, because I don't even believe Travis Hunter is going to be there at 4. That's just my personal opinion. But even Travis Hunter, I'm taking either one of these guys over him, DK or A.J. Brown. And you know how I feel about Travis Hunter. I'm still taking them. So, and then when you start looking at the other positions, I still feel A.J. Brown and DK, game breakers, game changers on the outside for your young quarterback is more valuable than the number 4 pick. So that's why I would include DK Metcalf. But I think a lot of the, I guess, shots that are taken at him, are earned. I don't think he's the best, most polished route runner I've ever seen, Keegs. But at the same time, he's a physical freak. And just line up and run past those guys and catch the ball when it comes to you. I've seen him do that. So, by the way,
we saw it at Gillette last year, right?
We saw it at Gillette last year. By the way, Keegs, if, this is hypothetical, trading number 4 for one of these guys, it doesn't mean you still can't go out and pay a T. Higgins. So,
right.
I mean, that's the other part of this is a DK Metcalf and a T. Higgins. Wow. I mean, that's next level stuff there. So I would trade the number 4 pick, not only for A.J. Brown. I would throw DK Metcalf in there as well because, Keeks, I just think he's better than anything you can get at number 4 overall.
I will say, too, I think there's a difference between those two players, whether you would do this hypothetical trade or not. I think if you're trading for A.J. Brown, it's the number 4 pick, and you're only getting A.J. Brown back.
Sure.
I think if you're reaching out to Seattle, you might be able to say, we'll let you trade up from wherever your spot is, but you also have to give us DK Metcalf. It's, wherever they're picking in the draft, 22, I'm making that number up in my head, but 22 and DK for number 4, where Philadelphia isn't giving up anything else. It's AJ for number 4. So which one do you prefer? That's also a conversation. Do you want to still be in the first round? Maybe you prefer DK over AJ, even though I think we would both agree AJ Brown's a better player at this point in their careers.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go to edge rushers now because obviously most of the talk at number 4, most of the mocks I see, you and I have talked about it a bunch, feels like Abdul Carter feels like a layup at this point. But let's say he's off the board and the Patriots are shopping this pick. He and Travis Hunter are both gone. Patriots are shopping this pick. And they're calling around the league. Again, just to review here, these names we're throwing out, it's not hot take city. This is stuff where these teams need to make real financial investments, real financial decisions on these players. And they may be moving off of them. They may be looking to shop them. So here's the first name that jumped out at me. Micah Parsons from the Cowboys could be available. TJ Watt from the Steelers. Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. When I throw these names at you as you sit up in your chair.
Yeah, you saw that.
I saw that. Someone or all 3 piqued your interest. Talk to me.
Yeah, give me Micah Parsons any day of the week.
Yeah, me too.
If Micah Parsons is available, I'll ship you anything but Christian Gonzalez or Drake Maye.
Yeah.
Anything you want.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking Herschel Walker draft where you can have my whole draft, but you want a first and a third for Micah Parsons? Maybe we might have to figure out the financial situation a little bit because that's going to be the highest paid player in NFL history, highest paid defensive player in NFL history soon enough. Like, he's going to get the biggest contract we've ever seen. But he's a dude, man. Like, there's a reason why the comp for Abdul Carter is a poor man's Micah Parsons. Like, no one is at that level in the NFL. So I sat up a little late, but Micah Parsons, man, whatever you want to say about him, there are people who aren't the biggest fans, but in terms of the football player, like guy on the field, any day of the week.
Yeah.
TJ Watt, I'll also have a conversation about, right? I think we're on the downturn here. Injuries are starting to catch up to him. He's still a phenomenal player, don't get me wrong. Like, Defensive Player of the Year, he'll be a finalist probably every year from 2017 to 2027. He's that kind of dude. But when you start to hit 30 and you've got the injury history that he has and you play the way he does, which is like reckless abandon, off the edge, I'm flying around and I'm making plays.
Yep.
I don't love giving that guy a huge contract. I definitely don't love giving up the number 4 pick. You know what I mean? So if Abdul Carter's on the board, I still think Micah Parsons, absolutely. Dallas, have Abdul Carter. I'll take Micah. I'll pay him. I have the best defensive player in football. If Abdul Carter's on the board and then it's TJ Watt, I think I might go Abdul. I might just take a shot at the young guy who comes in and at his peak he can be something similar. And you're not paying that outrageous contract right away.
Okay.
Trey Hendrickson, all set.
All set?
No thanks. No thanks.
What? Why?
He's a good pass rusher. Maybe the best in the NFL. What else is he doing for my defense?
What? You can't just gloss
Micah
over.
Parsons,
he's the best pass rusher in the league. What do you mean?
Great.
That's what he's doing.
You also had a top 3 pass rusher in the league 2 years ago, and Matt Judon. That didn't do anything for you.
You're saying
one of the worst teams in the NFL.
You're saying as it pertains to wins and losses.
And as it pertains to the way your defense is constructed, like, you can build the defense around Micah Parsons because he can play on the edge. You can back him up and play linebacker on early downs. You can move him all over the formation. TJ Watt is like top 3 playmaker on defense we've seen in the last 10 years. It's his brother.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Donald and it's TJ. Like, these guys, turnovers, key moments, right? Trey Hendrickson's going to end up with 20 sacks, but when is he getting those 20 sacks? I think he's much more similar to a Matt Judon where, he'll build up numbers, but is he fading in the second half of the year? Is he really changing the way you're constructing your defense? Is he giving you the best chance to win? I don't know. I don't want to disrespect Trey Hendrickson. I think he's a phenomenal player. He is not on the same level as Micah Parsons and TJ Watt. Not even close.
That's fair. You definitely disrespected him, but you have a great case. And listen, by the way, I'm with you for different reasons. I think all these guys are great, and in theory, I would trade the number 4 pick for any of them. But I have a preference, and it's Micah Parsons, and it's because he's 25 years old. And at this point, the way Dallas is going, he may want out. I mean, honestly, I actually think this is a guy who could either force the hand of the Cowboys to get him the hell out of there, or he could just wait until he can hit free agency. We understand, of course, how the franchise tag works, so maybe his escape from Dallas won't be that easy. But certainly, if I were him and I'm reading the tea leaves and I'm just looking around and I got my old decrepit owner even losing his marbles more than he already has, and then I have this quarterback who's paid like he's Patrick Mahomes, but he ain't, and he's not winning anything, and I'm just like, okay, like, this is cool, but I want to go somewhere and win. I'm 25. I want to get paid and win. If I were the Patriots, I would trade for Micah Parsons. I mean, to your point, 4th pick, next year's first, whatever you want. Just tell me what you want. And then what I would do on the back end of that is I would make him the highest paid defensive player in the league. No questions asked.
Right.
Blank check. Blank check. What do you want, brother? Fill it out. I'll sign it. You go cash it. I'll have the Brinks truck pull up to your crib if you want. All cash. I mean, I would take care of Micah Parsons, and you're absolutely right. You could build around him. He's got better against the run. A lot of teams, early on tried to run at him. He's got much better at that, and that's one of the reasons why I would feel comfortable making the move, because I don't believe TJ Watt, even though he's 30, and that's not old, I think you said it without saying it. He's got a lot of miles on him, Keagan.
Absolutely.
He's an old 30. I mean, you and I, we went to school with people who are the same ages as us, but when you see them, you're like, oh man, life's been a little rough. You know what I mean? So that's what I think of with TJ Watt. Great player, great pedigree. But damn it, man, it's so many miles on him. He's already battling injuries. I just don't know what I'm getting there. Trey Hendrickson, listen, you were disrespectful. However,
I got close.
You weren't wrong. I mean, he is what he is, which is sensational. But I think he's at the ceiling of what he is. He too.
Absolutely.
He too is 30. Now, he's a younger 30 than TJ Watt, but I just think he's at his peak. This is what I feel with Mason Crosby, too. A lot of people bring him up, and I'm like, well, I don't know if he's necessarily going to get any better. I think he's as good. He's in his prime now. Yeah. I'm not knocking it. So maybe you're getting 2, 3, 4 more years of that said player. Whereas Micah Parsons, I mean, as great as he is, he's 25 years old. So he could just be scratching the surface. He's just entering his prime, where these other guys, TJ Watt may be on the back nine of it because of injuries and mileage and attrition. And Hendrickson, I think, is in it. But I'm only probably going to get 3 to 4 more years of it. I mean, Keagan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Micah Parsons has another decade of getting better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you mentioned, it made me think, just Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson. I think they're more similar. Like, you put those two in a group, then you put TJ Watt and Micah Parsons in a group.
Agreed.
And I think the group that Crosby and Hendrickson are in is, you find guys like those in the draft every year. Mm-hmm. Are you the one drafting them? No, right? But every single year you have a premier pass rusher who comes in and he can fill the spot right away. Like Jared Verse did it this year for the Rams. Phenomenal pass rusher. Yeah. He'll only get better. He'll go from being a 9-10 sack guy to a 17-18 sack guy. That's the group they're in. You don't find all-world edge rushers who can play multiple positions and who can change a game like Micah Parsons and TJ Watt. It's just a different, same position, yes, different type of player. And you don't find those guys every year. You find 2 or 3 of them in a decade. Mm-hmm. So I think Abdul Carter's more in that bucket, but is he going to reach that potential? Who knows? The guys like Hendrickson and Crosby, there's a reason they were 3rd-round picks, right? You can get after the quarterback. What else can you do for me? And are you at that level yet? So I want to take the blue chip guy 10 out of 10 times over a guy who, if I have confidence in myself and my ability to evaluate talent, I could find somebody similar to that level later in the draft, year after year.
Well, I'm sure on that big board of yours behind you, you have offensive linemen all over it. So let's go there. Would you trade the 4th pick for a left tackle? Colton Miller from the Raiders is a pretty damn good one. I mean, this is another guy, 29 years old, really in his prime, I would say. And we see offensive linemen, as long as the football gods are good to him, they play a long time. I think this kid's one of them. Would you trade for him? 6'8", 330. I mean, that is a large human, my friend.
So my big board, rent is due on Monday when the show comes out. I would trade the number 4 pick for a few months worth of rent money.
Yeah.
Patriots, hit me up if we want to make a deal, if we want to figure something out.
It's a great deal.
Colton Miller, I don't know, man. I think, and I'm going to take on this offensive line class that I know you're going to want to hear, Trav. I know you're jacked up to hear it.
All right.
We've heard for the last 6 months that this offensive tackle class doesn't have the high-end talent like we've seen in past years. I don't necessarily think that's true.
Right.
I don't think it's true. Are you going to find a day one starter on the left side and then have him be your left tackle for 10 years? Probably not. But But the depth of this class, from pick 15 to, let's say, 50, there could be up to 10 offensive tackles who are drafted who become stalwarts on offensive lines. Okay. And do I need the best left tackle in football, or do I just need somebody who's going to give Drake Maye 4 seconds?
Sure.
You know, I'm not swinging for the fences at left tackle. I'm swinging for a guy who can just be in that spot for a long period of time and hold it down so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So when you think about, like, number 4 pick, I want to take a left tackle who's going to be there. He's going to be a Trent Williams. That guy isn't here, but it doesn't mean you can't find success with the pick that you end up making. I don't think it's at number 4. I think at number 4 you have to take the best player available, which is either Carter or Hunter. I don't think both of them will be available, but one of them will be. And I think you take that guy. And then if you want to trade back up into the back half of the first round and take your pick between, Banda, Ursary, Zabel, any of these guys that we've seen at the Senior Bowl that we've talked about moving their way into the first round, Conerly, Simmons, I just named 5. Go trade back into the first round, get one of those guys, and you've got yourself a tackle. Is it on the left side? Is it on the right side? Who knows? He's going to hold it down for a long period of time. I truly believe that. That's how I'm approaching this draft if I'm the Patriots. I'm not trading number 4 for Colton Miller. Sorry.
I couldn't disagree more. I actually would trade the 4th for Colton Miller, and it's actually the opposite of everything you said. Like, I'm so glad you laid it out the way you did, because I see it the opposite. I don't care about any of those names. None of them are as good as Colton Miller.
I know that's right.
None of them. None of them are as good as he is. And if I can get a left tackle who's a veteran, who's been on a loser, stupid franchise that just wants to win now, and this guy, I can bring him in as my veteran bookend, protect Drake Maye, help develop Drake Maye. I mean, that's a veteran guy protecting your arse that can lead you and help develop and bring the best out of you. Drake Maye can sit back there and have some damn time. I mean, I think a guy like Colton Miller, bringing him in, trading that number 4 pick for him, right? I hear what you're saying about this is a deep offensive line draft. Great. I'll trade for his big butt, get him in there, and then I'll take guys later in the draft and surround him. But I'm building around Colton as my stalwart for the offensive line. I need him. I need to be able to build around that bookend. So I would trade him. And you bringing up all those names is exactly why. None of those. There is no Joe Alt in this draft, right? Yeah. So because of that, I'm willing to roll the dice and bring this kid in, because none of these – it's kind of what I was saying with the receivers. Same thing. There's no wide receiver in this draft that you can name that's better than a DK Metcalf or an A.J. Brown. So I would trade the 4th pick to bring in Colton, because I'm like, none of these offensive linemen are worth the 4th pick to begin with. You and George tell me all the time, none of these guys are going to go top 5, and if they do, it's sort of a stretch and a reach. It ain't a reach for this kid, so I would make that move and pay him whatever he needs to get.
Well, you don't want to spend the 4th pick on any of these guys, but you're going to end up spending the 4th pick on an offensive tackle anyway. You brought up dumb, stupid teams who lose.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns come to mind.
Yeah.
Jack Conklin's sitting on the right side of that offensive line.
Right.
He barely played last year. They found a guy to replace him. They're going to try to get off that contract. Let me go trade a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
Get somebody who played for Mike Vrabel for a year. Now he's my right tackle. Oh, I also have $130 million to spend this offseason. Let me go sign Ronnie Stanley. So now I got my bookend tackles. I got the veterans that you want, and I still have the 4th pick.
Sure.
That's how I view this. I don't see a world in which you're wasting the number 4 pick on an offensive tackle when there are so many ways to fix that problem. There are so many different ways. It's the way you mentioned it, and then the way I mentioned it. You can go about it. You can go and sign 2 of them instead of trading for 1.
Sure.
Spending the 4th pick on an offensive tackle, whether you're trading or drafting one, it just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you have so many other needs. That's priority number 1 for sure. No one's arguing that. But you can fill, the biggest need you have while also saving some capital to pick up other options and expedite this process of trying to get back into contention. So it's the way I see it. I don't know.
Man, I don't know if it's a big board or what, but you were really strong in this segment. Nice job, Keeks.
Hey, I thought you were saying too strong. I was gonna wheel back. slide back a little bit.
If you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all things Patriots football. Mike Vrabel's staff is taking shape now. We're going to talk about a possible addition to that staff later on in the program. What about this number 4 overall pick in the draft? You saw Keegan's big board. Patriots offseason's already heating up. Foxborough Rush is available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else you get your podcast. All right, Keegs, let's talk Drake Maye. It's never a Foxborough Rush without talking about our boy. I saw, actually, he was on Sirius XM's NFL radio, and they were talking about Josh McDaniels. And we have the sound here. Drake Maye, Keegan, is fired up to work with Josh McDaniels. Take a listen.
Yes, ma'am. For sure, Coach McDaniels, obviously what he's done there and the success he's had. Fortunate to be able to have a guy come in who's done it at a high level and learn from him coaching one of the best ever and the best ever in my opinion, Tom. So got a great chance to go back and all those years of film you have in the little database is all their play calls and all Coach McDaniel's stuff and what he did with Tom. So it's fortunate for me to go back and study it up and get ready for this next season.
I love that kid's youthful exuberance and his excitement.
I was just about to say the same thing.
You get that too, Keegs?
Yes, ma'am, right away to kick it off. It's like there's a joke running around the office. I've mentioned it a couple times. People call me Big Tex because I lived in Texas for a while. Yeah. That is a good old Southern boy. Like yes. he means no harm. He's here to have a good time. He's here to do his best for his team. Like if you pick a personality type for a quarterback, I think that might be it. Just like nice guy off the field, killer on the field. That's what I'm looking for.
Whenever I hear yes, ma'am, I just think of like breakfast. I need the biscuits. I need the bacon. I need yeah. Right?
A nice old woman serving you. She's been there 40 years. She's got $70 worth of tips stuffed in her little apron.
Yeah. You're just like, thanks, Flo. Have a great day too. You know what I mean? All right, so, hey, by the way, have you seen Drake Maye slinging it at the Pro Bowl festivities over the weekend? Did you see him in all the, the little stupid games where you're throwing and you're hitting targets and they're playing tug of war? I don't know what the hell's going on at the Pro Bowl these days, but I did see Drake Maye getting after it and having a lot of fun out there, Keeks.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's not like the NBA All-Star Game where these guys go and recruit each other, like the Kyrie KD video we saw a few years ago.
Yeah.
I wish he was doing that. You know what I mean? Like nudging Jamar Chase. Like, everybody's talking about T. Higgins, but you're up in a couple of years. Yeah. Don't sign. Maybe you want to come here. So
he's too young for that, though. You got to be a veteran to pull that kind of stuff. And he's too nice.
He's a sweet guy. He doesn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. He's just there to have fun.
Yeah.
It's his personality. Like every video you see. Him after the draft when he flew into New England and he was just giggling the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have a likable quarterback because they definitely didn't have that with the last guy.
Yeah, well, listen, I tell you what, I can't imagine being him, and he talked about it in that soundbite, being him sitting down and watching tape with Josh McDaniels of Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady doing work. Like it's got to probably be some sort of surreal moment for him. And by the way, Keegs, I get his excitement because if I were him, I'd feel the same way. I mean, now you have the ability, the best quarterbacks in this league. Well, let's just go to the best. Patrick Mahomes is a great example of this. They are well-rounded. I mean, I remember the early knocks on Mahomes, as great as he was, and he's breaking all these records and he's winning Super Bowls. People said, well, he's too reliant on the big play. He throws it over the top to Tyreek Hill too much. And at that time in Travis Kelce's career, big plays. Can he sit back and sort of dissect you, death from 1,000 cuts the way Brady could? And now, certainly, we see Mahomes can do that no problem. It's because he's a well-rounded quarterback. He doesn't just rely on hero ball, running around and buying time for guys to get open, and then he throws a big pass. If I'm Drake Maye, that's what I'm interested in. Can Josh McDaniels get me to a point where I am a well-rounded quarterback that can beat you any way you want it? You need me to stand in the pocket and sort of that death by 1,000 cuts that I brought up? No problem. You need the big splashy play? Well, we know he's a damn gunslinger. No problem, right? That's probably more natural for him. So I think Josh McDaniels is a guy that can get him there. Do you?
Absolutely. I think we're going to find out a lot about Drake Maye this year, good or bad. I think Josh McDaniels is the kind of coach who is going to say, early on, he's going to put him in a position to succeed.
Yes.
But at a certain point, he said it himself. He talked about the bucket, right? Like, you start with a cup. And then the more that you can handle, the bigger the cup gets, it turns into a bucket. And then you load in that thing up full of information, full of responsibility. I think by season's end, we're going to have Drake Maye with a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. And whether or not he steps up and meets the expectations, you're going to know who this guy is. And with a quarterback, that's what I want. I don't want to baby this dude and get him to a certain point where eventually the babying isn't successful.
Sure.
And then you're going to try to adjust, and it's been so much of holding his hand that he's not able to do that. I want to see him with as much responsibility on his plate as early as possible to really know what I have. Because in the NFL, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you got to be a dude at quarterback. Think about the dudes winning Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes is winning all of them.
Yeah.
But Matthew Stafford, how long did it take him to finally be successful? How many different systems did he work in? How many different receivers did he work with? It takes a long time for some of these guys, and it takes a lot of change and a lot of adaptation for them to be successful. So the earlier you do it, the quicker you find out what this kid's got, I think the more successful they will be. I think Josh McDaniels is a really good coach to do that. People will throw out he's the perfect guy to do it. Well, I'll take Andy Reid, but he's unavailable right now.
Right.
So in terms of the guys who are available and proven, I think he's a great option. I agree with you with guys who are dumping all over Josh McDaniels just because he's been here and obviously the head coaching stuff didn't work out. I don't care. He's a successful offensive coordinator in the NFL. And Drake Maye showed that he's got the talent. Can we get a guy to mold him into something bigger than just talent? I think they can get there. I'm not going to place all my chips in that basket, but I think they can get there with some time and some familiarity with each other for sure.
May the show say amen to that. Hey, by the way, Patriot great, all-time great coach, Dante Scarnecchia, he believes in Josh McDaniels and Drake Maye big time. So remember, so this is from Mike Reese. This was from an article. Dante Scarnecchia said, I came out of retirement from 2016 to 2019, and I wouldn't have done it had it not been for Josh McDaniels. Here's some quotes here, and we'll react to these. Dante Scarnecchia says this of Josh McDaniels, quote, he leaves no stone unturned. If it's not the way he sees it, he's going to let you know about it, which is fair. Or we're going to have a discussion about it, which is also fair. He's always prepared situationally and will never come into a meeting unprepared. So obviously, and you alluded to this, we know that Josh McDaniels, a head coach thing, doesn't work. But as an offensive coordinator, this is the kind of quote I need to hear because this is exactly what it's about. And how many times last season, brother, did you and I sit here yelling about how this team didn't look prepared? The coaching staff didn't prepare them. They came out lifeless. They came out flat. You're not going to get that with the Josh McDaniels offense, Keegs.
Dude, he's been calling plays for 20 years. He's going to be prepared. I'm sorry. Right. All the great play callers that we talk about, Matt Nagy's calling plays kind of with Andy Reid. It's a weird thing in Kansas City, but Andy Reid called plays for 30 years. Steve Spagnuolo on the other side of the ball has been calling plays for 20 years.
That's right. These
guys that we talk about with all the success and how coordinators put their players in a position to succeed, there are teams where the players are doing the work, right? It's talent over anything else. In Dallas, when they had success under Mike McCarthy, it was Mike McCarthy's an all right play caller, but look at all this talent, CeeDee Lamb and whatever it might be. But the guys we talk about when we prop up coordinators, it's the ones with experience. Josh McDaniels has more experience than pretty much everybody who was available and almost anybody in the NFL.
Yes.
I'll take the guy with experience 10 out of 10 times, and he has it, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's well said. By the way, stylistically, Josh McDaniels has worked with a ton of different skill sets with quarterbacks. Yeah. And again, Drake Maye's dual threat ability, that athleticism he possesses, I think Josh McDaniels can get the most out of it. Dante Scarnecchia spoke about that too. Here's another quote for you, Keegs. McDaniels will be with the quarterbacks and a big part of every game. He's going to be there with them on the sideline, making sure that they're seeing the game through one set of eyes and that they're on the same page with everything. He goes on and says, quote, he'll coach fair, he'll coach hard, he'll get the most out of them, just like he's done with every quarterback he's coached since I've been around here. So this is what I'm speaking to, Keegs. That's Tom Brady, but there's been others. Matt Castle, Garoppolo, Newton, Mac Jones. He's had a lot of different guys here, and they've all done pretty well. I think that speaks volumes for him as a quarterback's coach and as a coordinator. Amen. I mean, that's exactly where you and I are because he's worked with different styles of guys. I can't wait. I'll tell you what I can't wait to see, Keeks. Creativity in play calling for the love of all things holy. I hope Josh McDaniels is as fired up as Dante Scarnecchia and as fired up as we heard from Drake Maye to work with Drake Maye so we can get some creativity for the love of all things football, Keeks. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, listen, you're going to see a lot of screens, right?
Yeah.
They're going to dump it off to the running back a lot. They're going to do a lot of things that make you want to pull your hair out. But at the end of the day, building an offense around a quarterback is something that Josh McDaniels has had to do. You think of Tom Brady. Well, it was Brady's offense. He just ran that offense. I don't know if you remember, but in 2020, that offense looked nothing like the one that Brady ran. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but Drake Maye stylistically compares more favorably to Cam Newton than any other guy you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
That offense averaged 36 points a game and 450 yards per game through 3 weeks. Cam Newton got COVID, and he said it. I had no idea where I was when I got back. They had moved a week and a half through installation. I got back in, had no idea what I was doing, so he dragged the rest of the offense down. That's not a Josh McDaniels problem. Unless Josh McDaniels was coughing in his Cheerios before they went out to practice. Like, it's not his fault he got COVID.
Right.
So we saw early that it worked. Obviously, defenses adjusted, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But in terms of being able to play different systems within the same system, the running quarterback stuff, if you want to sit back and throw it, if you want to utilize your running backs and your tight ends, that's what they did with Cam Newton. Yep. And that's what they'll do with Drake Maye. I have no doubt that they're going to, this offense is going to look a lot different than it did in the glory days.
Sure.
2014 through 2018 when they were really working through the slot and they were working through the running backs. I think it's going to be different now. And because Josh McDaniels not only had the experience of going through it with Mac Jones and Cam Newton and Matt Castle and Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was off for a year. And we've heard him say, I traveled around, I went through these different programs, I took things that I want to add to my system. It's going to look a lot different, and it's going to be for the better of Drake Maye and the offense.
No doubt. By the way, you said that this offense, because they're going to be running so many screens, people will be pulling their hair out. I'm not able to do that. So what I'm going to do, Keegs, I'm going to play a drinking game for every time they throw a wide receiver screen. What do you think?
Listen, if you do it with running back screens, you'll be sloshed by the halftime. Like, you'll be out of there. I can't tell you how many times they dumped it off to Rex Burkhead, and I wanted to punch my TV. Because, what are we doing? You've got Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski and Danny Amendola, and Rex Burkhead's getting 20 touches a game. It was unbelievable at points. But, the proof is in the pudding. 6 Super Bowls.
There you go.
Pretty good team when he was running the show. So,
shouts out to Rex Burkhead, too. If you want to come on the program, come on down. Me and Keegs would love to have you. If you're enjoying this show, make sure you check out Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat as well. We talk about all the trending sports news in Boston and around the country. It's available on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast. All right, Keegs, we got some tweets here. How about this? Wes Wlker potentially joining the Patriots as a wide receiver coach. I mean, haven't hired a wide receiving coach yet for Vrabe's staff. I mean, our boy Wes played here. I mean, he's coached receivers in Miami and San Fran. I think this is a no-brainer, don't you, Keegs?
Yeah, I really like the idea of Wes Wlker being the wide receiver coach. And I understand the trepidation of, another former Patriot. You're just going to run it back with all these guys. Wes Wlker might be the least former Patriot of all the former Patriots.
Right.
He didn't just cut ties. He burnt bridges.
Yeah, he did.
He was talking all sorts of mess. He, we heard Edelman's talked about it. When Edelman was coming up, Wes Wlker was not helping him out. Like, he was not like, oh, I see a little bit of myself in you. He was like, well, this is my job, and until I'm willing to give it up, have fun returning punts. Like, and there's a mentality to that where, as a coach, you probably don't want the guy who's like holding people down.
Right.
But as a player, that's exactly what you want. And when he did leave, you know, him and Belichick, their relationship isn't the greatest. But I do think there's something to be said for the fact that he went out. He had prior experience being away from the Patriots, but he played in a Peyton Manning offense.
That's right.
He tried to hold on a little bit with St. Louis, and that offense is very similar to what he ran in San Francisco as their wide receivers coach, and Miami as their wide receivers coach. And he coached all these guys, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne. Like, the pedigree's there. He's found success. And do you want him with a ton of input on game days? Probably not. But trying to teach guys this system and how to be successful in the system, no one, and I say that including Randy Moss and Julian Edelman, no one played this system better than Wes Wlker did. So if I want somebody teaching these guys how to do it, it's him.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, you know, just to go back on something you said, because I've heard that narrative as well. Are we just going to run it back with all these former Patriots? Listen, I've always defended that. Like, I want, even in theory, Jerod Mayo cares about the franchise. Now, he wasn't set up for success, and we understand that. And it didn't work out, but he cares about the Patriots. I want people from yesteryear who care about this franchise. I think Mike Vrabel gives a damn. You know, like, and by the way, to your point, because Wes Wlker burned every bridge on the way out of town, right? But if he comes back, that tells me he cares about the Patriots. Okay, so I don't get the knock on that. I want people in my organization that care about it. I mean, even I'm from out of town, Keegs. I'll never forget this. My agent called me, and he goes, have you ever heard of Nesson? I'm like, who hasn't? And I was honored to even have a chance to audition here. And I'm not from here, and I still held it in such a high regard. That's what you want. You want people that care about your product, that care about your brand. If Wes Wlker comes back as a wide receivers coach, that tells me, you know, water under the bridge. We're all good. He cares about the Patriots. I think that's a great thing. Here's the other thing I think stands out. If a Wes Wlker comes in as my wide receivers coach, you have a bunch of young kids as wideouts. Even if you go sign T. Higgins isn't some wily veteran. He's still a young guy in the prime of his
25.
career. I want Wes Wlker almost as a leader in a wide receiver room where there are none. It's a bunch of kids, Keegan. Am I crazy?
No, I think that's the perfect point to make because, like, Randy Moss, maybe the greatest receiver, but in my eyes, he's the greatest receiver of all time.
Of your generation.
I said what I said.
So you take a Moss over Jerry Rice? You didn't even see Jerry Rice. Okay, go on.
All right. I wouldn't call him a leader of that offense, right? Like, he wasn't bringing guys along. And I said the thing about Wes Wlker and Julian Edelman. He wasn't doing the same thing either.
Yeah.
But when he moved into his coaching career, I mentioned it, like, proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
I'll name more. Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. Those are on top of the guys that I already named. Like, he's not only been able to, you know, teach, right? Like, get these guys up to speed in terms of what the offense is, but turn them into professionals and teach them what it means to be a successful NFL wide receiver. So I'm not going to act like I know everything about the guy, and I've been in a room with him, and I've heard him speak to players, but you've got Jalen Polk and Javon Baker and, you know, Demario Douglas. Like, those are the three pillars of your wide receiver room right now.
Yeah.
I don't see any world in where you're going to bring in some random wide receiver coach and find success with that group.
Sure.
A guy who's done it, and he's done it here, and he knows the head coach. He has a personal relationship with him. Yeah. Give me that 10 times over Tyler Hughes and Tyquan Underwood.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. By the way, I mean, I had to do this, Keegs, just as you're talking, and I am listening. But I'm just looking at the numbers. I mean, my God, this Jerry Rice guy leads all receivers ever. Games played, receptions, yards, touchdowns, Super Bowls. I mean, Keegs, I know you're like 13 years old, but can we do a little bit of research here? I mean, YouTube and Google is your friend, brah. Come on.
Yeah, no, the numbers are great. Give me one guy. Give me one guy, one game. I'm taking Randy Moss.
Okay, but that's not what you said, because I agree with that. I want Randy Moss. One hitter quitter, give me Randy Moss. But that's not what you said. You said to go.
That's how I view the best.
Okay.
Number one, I'll say the same thing about Tom Brady. He just also happens to have all the numbers and the accolades and all that.
Yes.
One guy, one game, give me Barry Sanders. He doesn't have any of the stats.
Okay. All right. Fair. All right. I'm calm now. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all things Patriots football. Mike Vrabel's staff's taking shape, and the Patriots are picking 4th overall in the draft. Patriots offseason's already heating up. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else you get your podcasts. All right, Keegs, you wrote a kick-ass article a few days ago about adding some defensive coaches with experience calling plays. Break it down for us. What can we see in this article? What will we learn from this?
Yeah, the Patriots did a good job of quickly putting together a staff. Like, they don't have a receivers coach like we talked about.
Yeah.
But when I look at the staff and how it's currently constructed, what they don't have is somebody with experience calling plays on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Vrabel did that in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he runs his team, like CEO type, right? He on game days, he's more locked into clock management. What's the overall focus of the team? Not, all right, it's 3rd and 6, and we've got trips left. Like, that's not what he's going to be doing on game days. So I think it would be really smart to bring in somebody who has experience calling defensive plays and who's kind of looking to revamp their image a little bit to help Terrell Williams. And Terrell Williams he's a run game guy. So my thought process was bring in a defensive passing game coordinator. I threw a few names together, and they're all guys who either found great success or they flamed out with really good players.
Give them to us.
Chris Richard, successful defensive coordinator. Like Seattle, he went to a Super Bowl. He didn't go to the Super Bowl, but they were successful after the years of Dan Quinn left.
Yeah.
The only reason he ended up leaving was because the Richard Sherman debacle, where he wanted him to stay, he left. He threw a fit over not being able to pick the groceries, as Bill Parcells would say. He ended up out. He went to Dallas, didn't have a ton of success, moved on to a couple different places. That's a guy, to me, where you're looking to rehash your image, where you can go in and you can be a help to a veteran defensive coach, but a new play caller. I think that's worth taking a swing on. Sean Desai called plays for the Eagles 2 years ago, got fired. We all remember when Steichen and Gannon left the Eagles as their coordinators to head coaching jobs. Both their replacements got fired in a year. Like, it was a disaster. And Desai was one of those guys. But I think the people he's worked with, Nick Sirianni, last year he was in L.A. working for Sean McVay. You bring a guy who has learned from those head coaches and probably isn't in line to take a DC job. I don't even think any are left.
Sure.
But you can plug him into where he can have great responsibility on a team. I'd go for it. And then Ephraim Banda out of Cleveland. He worked with Mike Vrabel. He might be in line for a promotion, but if he doesn't get it there, Mike Vrabel, I'm sure, would come calling, looking for him to have a really important role on the staff. So overall, I don't even care who it is, but veterans, guys who have done it before, who can help the rest of the defensive coaching staff, which is a really young staff or an inexperienced staff, depending on how you look at it. I think that would be really beneficial to the team.
I do too. And, if I'm a lot of these coaches, as you said, are kind of starting over, right? Getting to the back of the line and trying to get back into either a coordinator or a head coaching position. And I'll tell you what, the Patriots is a wonderful place to do it. Being on Vrabel's staff, Drake Maye on the come up. Look at the division. You and I talk about this a lot. I mean, the Jets are a mess. The Dolphins are soft.
Always.
And the Bills, hey, listen, there could be some regression there. I mean, how long is this championship window going to be open and you just keep losing to Patrick Mahomes? There could be some regression. So I could see a world in which the Patriots are vying for a wild card spot next season, and you know this as well as I do. Just win, baby, to take a slogan from the Raiders. Like, if you're winning games in this league and you have some momentum in your franchise, that is how you get some opportunities from other teams around the league. All of a sudden, these teams are poaching from Mike Vrabel's coaching tree. So that's something I don't know if he did a great job of in Tennessee, but maybe he can start to build on that now in New England. The only way to do it is to win for a prolonged period of time, and I could see that happening. So to your point, the way things are sort of shifting in the AFC East and shifting here in New England could be a great opportunity for these coaches to get another look, Keegs. There's no doubt about it, man. Well, I know on your big board back there, you got a ton of prospects you got to get to, Keegs. George gave us both a hard time the last time we were together because we partied too hard. We left beer cans everywhere and red Solo cups. This time we're going to clean up the joint. Put the paper towels back. We're going to clean up the joint a little bit better. A little Windex, a little spick and span around, freshen up the joint. But you did a great job, Keegs. I love working with you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it. It's always fun coming on.
No doubt. And thank all of you for rolling with us here on Foxborough Rush as well. We'll keep breaking it down. I mean, the draft is approaching. Next thing you know, off season, full swing. Keep it with us here on Foxborough Rush. For Travis Thomas and Keagan Stiefel, we'll see you next time. Peace.